All You Need to Know, the Bloomberg Quint podcast that prepares you for the day's business.
Good morning and happy Friday to you. This is the All You Need to Know podcast on Bloomberg Quint, and I'm Alex Matthew. Today is the 17th of July. Here's everything that you need to know at the start of the end of your week. I do hope that you're continuing to exercise caution when it comes to COVID-19. The virus is still running rampant. In fact, authorities reported the highest increase in cases yesterday at 32,000, taking the total tally to close to 9.7 lakh. According to the official figures, there are now 3.3 lakh active cases, and the total tally likely rose by another 30,000 in the last 24 hours. Do check back with Bloomberg Quint after 8 a.m. today to find the latest data. In the aviation space, India's Civil Aviation Minister Hardeep Singh Puri has said that India is opening air routes to France and the US with limited flights. Similar arrangements with Germany will soon be made. Air France and United Airlines will operate only 28 and 18 flights respectively between now and the end of the month, though. Meanwhile, it has been reported that Russian state intelligence is hacking international research centers that are trying to develop a COVID-19 vaccine. At this point, it's unknown whether research facilities have been damaged in any way or if there have been setbacks in the development of vaccines as a result of the hacks. But officials have warned that the cyber attacks are ongoing. Britain's National Cyber Security Centre said vaccine and therapeutic sectors in multiple countries have been targeted by the group known as APT29, which is, according to the British Security Service, almost certainly part of Russian state intelligence. Security agencies in the US and Canada later issued their own statements backing up the findings. Back home, in news on the economy, ratings agency ICRA has sharply cut its forecast for the Indian economy in the current financial year, citing localized lockdowns and rising COVID-19 cases. Its forecast is now the most pessimistic among major institutional forecasters. The rating agency now expects the current financial year real GDP to contract by 9.5%. That's a sharp downward revision of its earlier forecast of a 5% contraction. In more news on the economy, there are some economists that are pointing to a gap in the measurement of the CPI inflation that was announced earlier this week. Do check out the website bloombergquint.com to read more about that. In international news, the number of Americans filing for unemployment barely declined last week, indicating that there are rising challenges to the recovery in the world's largest economy. Initial jobless claims in regular state programs stood at 1.3 million in the week ended July 11, down 10,000 from the previous period, the smallest decline since March, according to Labor Department figures. Another 17.3 million Americans claimed ongoing unemployment benefits in state programs in the week ended the 4th of July, indicating that economic pain remains widespread. In other news, in a somewhat startling statement, U.S. Attorney General William Barr has said that Disney and Apple, among other major U.S. companies, have become pawns of China, enabling the government in Beijing to amass influence and wealth at the expense of the US and Western democratic values. More details in the story by Bloomberg on the website bloombergquint.com. In international markets, US equities ended lower as the rally in tech stocks looked like it might just be on the ebb. The S&P 500 and Dow fell 0.3 and 0.5% respectively, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq declined 0.7%. In the Asia-Pacific region, though, it isn't such a bad start to the Friday session. Markets in Japan and Australia were trading just a shade positive, while the Kospi in South Korea was trading up 0.6% last I checked. And with that, it's over to Agam Vakil for the trade setup for the day in India. Good morning, Agam. How are we looking at the end of the week?
Good morning, Alex, and a happy Friday, listeners. We're likely to build on yesterday's gains considering the SGX Nifty futures is currently trending higher by around half a percentage point. Moving on to stocks and news, in earnings, at the top we have L&T Technology Services, where we saw revenues decline 4% year on year and net profit was down 43%. Margins also contracted by as much as 500 basis points to 15.9% on account of higher employee costs and higher other income in the base quarter. L&T Technology Services will acquire Orchestra Technologies for $25 million to be paid in tranches, and this will give the company an edge in the telecom industry. Moving on to L&T Finance Holdings, where its net interest income declined 16% year on year and net profit was down 73%. This was on account of an incremental provision taken by the company to the tune of 577 crores, half of which was attributed to the COVID-19 pandemic. Cyient, the mid-sized IT company, also reported a revenue decline of 8% sequentially, and net profit, however, was up 76% because of an impairment of non-current assets of 40 crores in the base quarter, and higher profit was also due to lower employees expenses, lower other expenses, and higher other income. In terms of earnings today, we're watching out for HCL Technologies, Britannia, Granules, and ICICI Lombard General Insurance, among many others. Now, moving beyond earnings, we have PTC India, which is exploring opportunities for monetization of its investment in PTC India Financial Services and to sell its controlling stake. PTC India currently has 65% stake in PTC India Financial Services, whose market value currently stands at just a little less than 900 crores. BPCL has finalized senior debt financing of $14.9 billion for its two-train LNG project, for which final investment decision was made back in June 2019. We also have a COVID-19 update from Symphony, where it says several orders were cancelled towards the end of March. The current quarter sales have been severely impacted, and the company's OEMs are facing production constraints because of labor shortages and logistics bottlenecks. And finally, SBI Mutual Fund has reduced its stake in Aavas Financiers to 3.1% from 3.5% on July 15th. Now, these are just some of the stocks we can watch out for as we move into trade today, but don't forget to go through our morning edition of All You Need to Know only on BloombergQuint.com.
Thanks, Agam. And as always, thank you all for listening in. This is Alex Matthews signing off. Have a great Friday and an even better weekend.
I hope you enjoyed listening to All You Need to Know. Did you know that you can listen to the show on the IVM Podcast app? On the IVM Podcast app, along with this, we have a number of other shows which you think you'll enjoy. Listen to Cyrus Says with Cyrus Brocha as the host. Listen to Paisa Vaisa with Anupam Gupta. The Scene and the Unseen with Amit Verma, or Shunya One hosted by Shiladitya Mukhopadhyay and myself. Check out the IVM Podcast app to get more talk content that you will enjoy.